Hey everybody, David Shapiro here with a video update. So this is super exciting. Let me just go ahead and show you right off the bat what I'm working on. And I apologize that it's small. This is it's a very primitive graphical user interface. But as most of you are aware, ChatGPT has been in shall we say, bad shape. Network errors, your history is gone, etc., etc. And for a lot of people, that means like your work comes to a grinding halt. That being said, I've been working on learning the ChatGPT API. I've got access to GPT-4, not the 32,000 token one. If anyone knows how to request access to that, please let me know in the comments, because working on a novel, I could easily make use of the 32,000 tokens. That being said, the 8,000 tokens will carry you a really long ways. So with that being said, this is the repo. It's chapter summarizer GPT-4, and it is already completely wrong because it provides developmental feedback, prose feedback, and now you can actually chat with it, and it will know your entire story. So how did I achieve this? With the larger token window, with the 8,000 token window, that is enough that you can summarize all your chapters, and it will fit you generally within it. It probably won't fit by the time I finish my novel, but hopefully I'll have access to the 32,000 token API endpoint, which means that I'll be able to summarize the whole thing. And then what I did was I took the scratch pad here, and I've got all this documented too, because this is like the best instance of AutoMuse yet. So basically you copy and paste whatever you want into the scratch pad file. Whoops, where did it go? So you copy it into Scratchpad, and you see it's 24 kilobytes. So this is a summary of the first 19 chapters of my story. And it's from here, the chapters, the text, the conversion, the chat logs. Oh, I want to show you, like, this is working, right? Like, here's all the chat logs that I've got between myself and the Muse, which also means that you've got a permanent record even if ChatGPT goes down. And all this is excluded in the git ignore. So you see the OpenAI, your key is ignored, chapters, the summaries, and the chat logs, and the scratchpad. So you don't have to worry about accidentally sharing any of your own work. It'll just stay local in the repo when you copy it down. Now, I was using ChatGPT 4 to help write a graphical user interface, because I was like, you know what? I could do this as a web thing, but honestly, I don't like, why have multiple apps running? Like, why use a web browser when Python has a built-in graphical user interface? And so that's this here. So I was using ChatGPT to help make this, and you can see like it dynamically sizes. I've got it color-coded so that you can just easily see what's going on. It also uses threading. So that way, because it takes a while for the API to spit out something. But yeah, so let me show you the prompt that I use. So the scratch pad, this is just all the information about your story. I probably will get this automatically updated in the future, but for right now, it's just manually copy pasted. And then I have a new kind of prompt. Instead of a prompt, it's a system message. So in this case, it says, here, let me zoom in. I'm a writing assistant and coach. The following is the summary of chapters for the novel the user is working on. My job is to help them develop their novel in any way that I can, including brainstorming, plotting, outlining, and planning. We may engage in developmental editing, which includes restructuring or modifying character arcs, plot threads, world building, and developing of themes. We may also work on finer-grained aspects such as character backstory, subplots, and so on. I should refer to highly professional writing concepts such as the 3-act plot structure, the work of Joseph Campbell and C.G. Jung, Save the Cat, and any other formalized approaches to storytelling. I should not seek to push the author, but rather teach them when I perceive gaps in their understanding. Above all else, my primary mission is to help them produce an amazing work of literature. And then you can populate whatever's in the scratch pad here. And again, you can dynamically update this if you want. Important note, the above material is provided for background information. This format is not necessarily intended to be used moving forward. Lastly, be sure to ask plenty of questions so that the author remains firmly in the driver's seat. So this huge constitution or purpose or system message actually works really well. So in this case, just right off the bat, I can say, hey, describe the main characters. It identifies all 4 of the main characters and gives a very succinct definition of them. And actually, this would be really good back matter for the little blurb. So you can see that just with one message, it is able to read my entire story up to this point, well, the summaries at least, and we can talk about it. Obviously, I don't want to reveal too much more about my story. You guys know the main characters and a little bit about them. But yes, so give it a try yourself. I'm super happy with this. And the biggest thing that it does is it saves time because, again, I've got all of my chapters loaded into it, and now I can just ask it whatever I need. Also, I found that this system message, it really cuts to the point. I'm just like, hey, let's plan the scenes for the next chapter. And it's like, okay, cool, let's go. It does do a little bit too much for me, but the fact that you don't have to spend too much time going back and forth, I think is actually better, because it'll come up with an idea and say, hey, do you like this? Let's modify it. And then you can say, yes, let's modify it. So that's probably all you need to know. But now we can step through the function. So I did a nice clear demarcation. This is what I wrote. So just these 3 things: open file, save file, the ChatGPT completion, which you can see it's using GPT-4. I do still have it nested in a while true loop, which is basically just to capture in case the API has an error, which it does all the time lately. And then I added this here because if the chat conversation gets too long, it will give you a maximum content length error. And so in that case, I just removed the oldest message. Not a big deal. It actually, ChatGPT-4 said, why don't you actually measure the tokens and just remove it until it's done? But I couldn't actually find anything on this. The OpenAI API client, the underscore clean. I think that's a tokenizer, but I couldn't find any documentation, and I didn't want to try it just yet. But anyways, so that's there. Let's see. Nothing else really changed here. I still have the exponential back off, which basically means that it'll wait longer and longer to retry until it will finally give up. And it's just because the API is wonky right now. Now, everything from here down was written by GPT-4, just with some feedback back and forth between myself and GPT-4. So basically, it came up with the function to send the message, the thread to get the response. I asked it to ignore, like if you use Shift Enter, it will just insert the new line character. Otherwise, it'll send the message. Because I realized like that function is available in ChatGPT on the web. And then finally, it did basically all it did was I gave it this much. And you can see here where we populate the system message by loading what you have in the scratch pad. It then populates the system message based on this and starts the conversation with that. So the system role will be in index 0, meaning index 1 is going to be the oldest message in the conversation. So then it fires up the TKINTER GUI. Oh, and for anyone who's not familiar with TKINTER, that's what this is. It's a really brain dead simple, portable graphical user interface. And so then it constructs it all. There was a few problems when I first created it. So one, the window was static, so it wouldn't allow you to expand. And then also, while it was waiting for the API to respond, the whole thing would freeze and say not responding. But now it has a little output here that says, AutoMuse is thinking. So welcome to AutoMuse. It gave it's set to word wrap. So basically, it just when I had an issue, I just said, okay, hey, can you make this modification? And away it goes. And then again, one thing that I haven't integrated is being able to search the previous logs. But because of the work that I've been doing on other topics, that'll be there. Now, it might not be relevant because once we get to the 32,000 token window limit, that's going to be like 100 pages worth of chat logs, like you won't even need that much history, right? So you could load this entire history and, you know, most of it's going to be irrelevant. So anyways, we'll see. I did have a thought, one final thought about the kinds of problems that we solve just by increasing context window is amazing. And so basically what I'm going to be doing from now on is I'm not even going to try and force problems to fit into smaller context windows, because one, larger context windows are coming, and two, the kinds of problems you are able to address once you have that larger amount of working memory completely changes the game. So I was talking with my fiance and some people on Discord, and what we're noticing is that we're getting more and more purpose-built models. So there are some open source models out there that have token windows up to 64,000 tokens, which is crazy. Some of them have 16,000 tokens, so on and so forth. So what we expect to happen is that we're going to end up with many, many, many models, most of them open source, that are purpose-built for specific tasks. So for instance, some models are going to be focused on, they're going to be like window optimized models, right? So like we might eventually have a window optimized model that can have a token window of like 1,000, not 1,000, 1,000,000 tokens, right? But then we might also have compute optimized models or cognition optimized models, that sort of stuff. And some of the people in Discord are like, oh yeah, I'm already working on that. So that's the way that it's going. And then aside from that, from a psychological perspective, my fiance pointed out that working memory is actually one of the biggest factors in intelligence, and that by doubling the working memory, the effective working memory, by going from GPT-3 with a token count of 4,000 to GPT-4 with a token window of 8,000, doubling the working memory, that like basically takes it up an order of magnitude, or a standard deviation of IQ. So if GPT 3.5 had an IQ of about 115, doubling that window takes it up another 15 points to about 130. And then when you actually, if you were to test its IQ based on speed, it's probably already like in the 160s or something. So there's from a numbers perspective, two of the universal features of intelligence that should figure into a good IQ test. One is processing speed. So IQ, most IQ tests are actually speed tests, because speed is a good proxy for a lot of kinds of intelligence. So your mental speed is not your IQ, but it is a proxy for actual intelligence. And so when you measure the speed of GPT-3 and GPT-4, its IQ is actually really high. But then one of the other universal things is working memory. So working memory is also a really good proxy for intelligence and many forms of intelligence. So when you combine the large working memory combined with the speed of reading and output, I would say GPT-4 probably has an effective IQ of around 130, if I had to guess. Now, that being said, it doesn't have permanent memory. You have to have a secondary system for that. But that paper came out that talked about how storage systems combined with LLMs are computationally complete. So I'm not worried about that. Yeah, so that's the direction it's going, and that's where we're at right now. So I'm really excited to get my hands on the 32,000 token one. I think that will also really help with the scientific research one. So I haven't made any progress on the, oh, and I also wanted to show you how expensive it was. So yesterday it cost about $4 to $8 to summarize the first 60% of my novel, and then the conversations that I had about it. So even just reading all the summaries and talking about it cost another $2.62, which is still kind of expensive, but in the grand scheme of things, like, it's so fast. And it is still a lot more expensive than just the $20 a month for the like unlimited ChatGPT, but that price will come down. I'm not worried about that. But anyways, so figuring out these chat interfaces and how to handle large amounts of information and really how to make the most use of the system window, that is what I'm working on now. And I will return to the, let's see, where is it? the regenerative medicine thing. So I've been thinking about this one. Come on. So I got a bunch of papers, but the thing is these papers are unrelated. Wow, it's already been 2 weeks. Good grief. A lot of these papers are unrelated, which I think is kind of problematic. Although you might think the idea that like cross-pollinating stuff, like correlating stuff from unrelated papers could be a really good priming exercise. So anyways, as I'm getting more familiar with the ChatGPT API and how to use it, I will come back to this because I realize like, yeah, I really want to help accelerate science as fast as possible because I'm really looking forward to the day where I can go to the doctor and just like get an outpatient injection and then all of my joints will feel better in a few months, right? That's really what I want. Because man, like I do not have as much energy as I used to, and I have to be really careful because like I have old shoulder injuries from falling while snowboarding. Like there's so much that I can't do anymore just because I don't want to hurt myself anymore. Anyways, I'm complaining about getting old. It sucks. Everybody knows that. I think this is enough of the video. So thanks for watching. Cheers. Stay tuned. This is so much fun.